Hold up, B. We gotta let them know. Hold up. We gotta let them know. We're in Memphis. We're Tennessee. We're in Tennessee. And we ain't gonna represent without Buck. And we ain't representing the goal. We ain't representing that run.
What up, guys? Ali here, and welcome to Ali Talks Music. Add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music as well. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video. In the 90s, Cash Money acquired a host of new artists, including Lil Wayne, BG, and Juvenile. One artist who became affiliated with Cash Money Records around this time period was none other than Cashville's own Young Buck.
I know you gonna let me shine and get mine. I know you gonna let me in with this 9.
Buck always knew how to grab opportunity by the horns. Even though Buck was involved in the streets and making money, he had ambitions that far exceeded his peers. When Buck was around 14 years old, he got called over to the studio one day by Little Jimmy, and upon entrance he met Lil Wayne and Birdman. After performing for Birdman and rap battling Lil Wayne, Birdman was impressed and decided to take young Buck under his wing. At this time, Buck was still in high school and made the decision to drop out to pursue his dreams of being a rapper. Buck then relocated to New Orleans. My homeboy that's incarcerated introduced me to Baby. They were recording in my city. I was in the streets and my homeboys wanted to let him hear my rap. Once he heard me, he liked what he heard, and it pretty much started from there. Around 1997, Cash Money Records was obviously not the powerhouse that it is today. It was in its humble beginnings. We all lived in a little bitty apartment. Everybody was in struggle, in the grind trying to make it. I was young and felt like it was my opportunity because they were moving units back then on the underground scene. You could see the potential of them becoming something. I felt like if I wasn't around, maybe my shot would be gone. Buck remained close to Birdman and the rest of Cash Money Records. Believe it or not, Buck and his crew helped Juvenile and Cash Money Records broaden their fan base. In the video Hard by Juvenile, you notice a yellow Ferrari in the video, the blue Jaguar. All those items belong to Buck and his crew. Buck came up under people that were actually making money in the streets, and they helped supply the items for the video. Ironically, this was one of the first songs that made Cash Money Records more mainstream, releasing them from the dark realms of underground hip-hop.
Yeah, I met Buck. Buck, actually, man, we used to go to Cashville, which is Nashville, a whole lot. And back then, they had niggas, these young niggas, man, these niggas were balling. These were the niggas who put Baby on Rolex watches with the boogers, you know, them niggas were the first niggas I heard called diamonds in the Rolex boogers, you know what I'm saying? And it was baguettes in the Rolex with the bezel, you feel me? And these were some young niggas, teenage niggas, they were driving big boy Cadillac trucks, big boy Rollers with the boogers in it, you know what I'm saying? And Young Buck was one of their little homies, you feel me? Young Buck wasn't doing it like that, you feel me? But his big homies was doing it like that, who was young niggas, but they was his big homies because they was doing what they was doing, you feel me? It was heavy, you know, and Young Buck was the rapper. I guess he was the way out for them, you feel me? But some kind of way Young Buck wound up getting around Baby, and
Buck studied the way Birdman operated and polished his skills in the process. However, after a while he began to encounter setbacks, ones the label were responsible for. Buck remained affiliated with Cash Money Records for a couple of years and eventually moved on to other things. So the question is, what happened to Buck during this time period? Why did he leave Cash Money Records and Juvenile's UTP? How did he join G-Unit? And more. Let's dig in and find out. After joining Cash Money Records, it was all systems go for Buck. He had stars in his eyes and couldn't wait to show the world what he had. Buck was constantly with the Cash Money artists. Now, according to Turk, Buck didn't quite fit into Cash Money Records and had a fashion sense that was odd to them at first. However, after noticing that as far as dressing goes, Buck was thinking 3 steps ahead, they assimilated Buck's dress code and used it as their own.
I don't think Buck fitted in. Like, Buck used to come around us with them dicky fits and shit. And you know, we was in Jabos, t-shirts, and Reeboks and shit. We wasn't on that. That was like out of our league. But then we started wearing the dicky fits. Buck was the first nigga I saw with them dicky fits. You feel me? Like Buck, that was his attire. Dicky fits. Yeah, that nigga used to wear them blue dicky fits, top and bottom. You know what I'm saying? He been on that. And then we start wearing and rocking that shit. You feel me? And you know, like, the young niggas today, I think they be thinking Lil Baby started that shit. But man, nah, that shit been going on way in Hot Boy days. Young Buck was the first nigga I saw it. And before that, it was the niggas on the West Coast, you feel me?
Buck also might have been the reason that Lil Wayne learned how to freestyle. At the time, Lil Wayne wasn't Young Buck's biggest fan because Birdman would always make them freestyle against each other, and Buck had the superior freestyling skills at the time.
Young Buck used to freestyle a lot. Wayne did not like Young Buck, man, because Baby used to always make Young Buck freestyle. Young Buck was a beast at that shit. And I believe that's why Wayne started freestyling, to be honest, because Wayne a competitive nigga, you know what I'm saying? Wayne did not like Buck at all, you feel me? Like, every time we go where we go and Baby will make Young Buck freestyle, you feel me? And just be rapping, Buck be rapping his ass off, you feel me?
Now, while he was around Cash Money Records and the Cash Money audits, Buck began to notice something. He was not given the opportunity to release any studio projects with them. This is the main reason that led to Young Buck's swift departure from the label. After leaving the company of Cash Money Records, Young Buck had to start from scratch. He had a little buzz thanks to his affiliation with Cash Money. However, he had to become an independent artist and make a name for himself on his own. Not being one to ignore the hustle, Buck pressed his own CDs and would sell them for about $10 a pop. I came back to the hood and got into those streets and started doing whatever it took for me to provide. I had lost so much time. Financially, I was brand new. I was on some other shit out there trying to get that bread. But you reap what you sow. According to Young Buck, while he was on Cash Money, he felt neglected by Birdman and the label. I was getting lost. I think with all the success that was coming with them and Baby having to stay, and I understand it now, at the time, I really didn't understand it. Baby was basically chasing the success with the artist that was actually winning. I don't think he was looking to take the time to get another artist established when he already got a group that's doing so much. Now, this was back in the day when artists were extremely reliant on the label for promotion and artist development. Back when artists didn't have studios in their bedroom and social media with instant access to their fans. The artists needed the label back then, but in this case it's clear Cash Money did not need Young Buck. Around this time period, Buck stared death in the face. An intruder broke into his place in the early hours of the morning and attempted to steal narcotics and end the life of the rapper. Fortunately, fate and God were not done with Young Buck. At the same time I was out there doing my thing, there was another motherfucker who felt like he could come and do his thing to me. That's exactly how it happened. Motherfucker came kicking my door 4 or 5 in the morning. I was laying in the middle of the floor. He came standing on top of me with an AK or a Mac something. I ain't had no gun, so I got my ass off the floor and ran towards the kitchen. It just so happened one of my homeboys, he was awake. He pushed the guy back up out the door. I got shot twice. One of them damn near blew my arm off, and another caught me in my upper leg, in my thigh. I had so much illegal shit in the house. At the time I rode around for 45 minutes to an hour before I even went to the hospital. I damn near lost my life from bleeding so much. Fortunately, Buck made it out with his life, and when the time was right, he returned to dropping that heat. He, along with his childhood friend DT, dropped a mixtape called Independent LP, Thugging Till the End. The project didn't have any huge features and was not a groundbreaking hit. However, despite its poor performance, it did give Young Buck something he did want, and that's the freedom to drop music whenever he wants to. Now, at this point in time, Buck thought he was free, but he really wasn't. When I started looking for other opportunities, I realized this dude had paperwork on me that was holding me. I felt like, let me get up off of this here. He kinda didn't want to make it happen at the time, but we wound up working it out. Birdman harbored no ill feelings towards Young Buck. When Buck was at his lowest point, Birdman offered Young Buck a chance to join Cash Money once again. Now when Birdman made the offer, Cash Money was far removed from its humble beginnings. They were actually making money now and had something more to offer Young Buck. Birdman invited Young Buck to the Cash Money offices to discuss new arrangements. However, after Young Buck got there and witnessed the way things were being run, he decided to opt out. Luckily, he bumped into Juvenile in the office building, who offered Young Buck the opportunity of a lifetime. At the time, Juvenile had contractual issues with Cash Money and was eager to do his own thing. I was ready to get out of there when Juvenile stopped by the office. Juvenile was like, "But at least you'll be out on something that'll be heard. But at least you'll be out on something that'll be heard." I made my decision from there. I had Juvie take me to grab my luggage. And I struck out on the road with him and started recording songs. In the first 3 days, I did about 11 songs. After Juvenile left Cash Money Records, he swiftly formed his own group called UTP around 2002. The group's original members were Juvenile, Wacko, Skip, Corey C, Soulja Slim, and Young Buck.
Please believe it, you know what I'm talking about? Basically, you know what I'm saying, this my stomping grounds, this where I'm from. All this shit you see right here, my homeboys, you know what I'm saying? My nigga Skip, my nigga Chili, my nigga Corey C, my nigga Zoom, the motherfucking UTP, nigga.
Around 2002, the group released their very first project called The Compilation. It didn't do amazing numbers and didn't make it to the Billboard 200. He also released a project under UTP called Born to Be a Thug. Now around this time period, 50 Cent was in the middle of his mixtape takeover. He was looking for new artists to work with and began working with Skip, Wack, and Young Buck, a move that saw their work land on his mixtapes, including 50 Cent Is the Future. In fact, Young Buck and UTP appeared on a track on the mixtape called A Little Bit of Everything. This track was obviously created before Young Buck signed to G-Unit, as Young Buck is credited as a member of UTP and not G-Unit. It seems like 50 Cent saw something in Young Buck. He appreciated Young Buck's rap skills and energy and offered to buy a track from Young Buck called Bloodhound, one that eventually landed on 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying album. Even though 50 Cent bought the song from Young Buck, he kept Young Buck on the record, and the rest, as they say, is history. Out of nowhere, bro, I got this call, bro, from Shaw Money through CeeLo. CeeLo had called me and was like, "Yo bro, Shaw Money just called and asked about some record you was playing." And I was like, "The record I was playing on the bus?" He was like, "Yeah bro, 50 wants to buy that record and put it on his album." I never in my life sold a record in my life. I didn't know what the fuck to charge him or ask for in regard to that. At that time, I was like, "Hell yeah bro, let's do it." CeeLo kind of played manager in a sense of setting that record up with them, and that record ended up being Bloodhound from 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying. After feeling Bloodhound and realizing that Young Buck would make a great addition to G-Unit, 50 offered Young Buck a deal. One Buck quickly snatched. Young Buck then left UTP to join G-Unit. While Young Buck had moved on with G-Unit, Juvenile's UTP had to function without Young Buck and went on to release more projects. When speaking on his former group, Buck said he had nothing against them, but also felt like he would have left UTP with or without G-Unit. I honestly don't think I would be rocking with Juve through his movement right now, even if I wasn't with G-Unit. I don't think I'd be rocking with the whole Cash Money UTP movement right now. I'd probably be out there trying to do a solo myself. I never signed any contract ever up until this G-Unit one. In conclusion, Young Buck didn't get what he wanted from Cash Money. After being affiliated with them for a while, he realized the label was placing more attention on other artists, leaving him feeling left out. After much consideration, Buck realized that he'd be better off without the label and decided to forge his own path, one that led to his eventual induction into Juvenile's UTP group. While he was with UTP, he dropped some inspired material and featured on their projects. However, as time went on, Buck realized that he was destined for bigger and better things. After working with Young Buck, 50 Cent saw Young Buck's hidden potential like Gohan in the Saiyan saga and decided to nurture it almost like Piccolo, and eventually signed the Cashville Records artist to his label. Musically, things worked out for young Buck. He may not be in the best position today and suffered numerous setbacks in his career, but hey, not that many people can say that they were once part of the most dominant hip-hop groups of all time. Not that many people can. Buck did his thing and continues to entertain us to this day, even if it isn't with his music. Young Buck gets about 1.2 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and his most popular songs on the platform are Shorty Wanna Ride, Molly, Get Buck, Money in the Bank, and Let Me In.
Buck is a bitch. Bruh. I hate Buck. I hate Young Buck, fam. Buck is a bitch ass nigga, so we ain't gonna talk about Buck at all, period.
That's it for me. It's your boy Ali. Catch me on the next video. Add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.